Hello everybody, Chris here, and in this video I want to show you how you can take any 3D text inside of DaVinci Resolve and add a image texture to it so that it's not just displaying as basic white text but rather has a little bit of detail. So for this video we're going to take any Fusion 3D title, put it onto our timeline on video track 2, and then edit that. So for instance, I can come down here to 3D title center line, just kind of picking one at random. And let's make sure that looks all right there. So you can see on this default title template that the text is receiving some lighting, but its material is just a basic white color. So what we can do is select this clip and go over to the Fusion tab. And then we're going to have the base video effect created here, and we can double click on it to expand it. So we need to find where our text elements are. And this 3D title, it's pretty straightforward. You can see top text there and bottom text. So when you click on these, you may need to double click on the text header to get all of the other controls to display, but you'll be able to easily see that these are just 3D text elements. So whenever you have a 3D text node, it's going to be receiving two colors, one for the main material and front, and then because it's a 3D text element, it'll also have a bevel texture or color. So we can see those over on the shading tab. So in the inspector, click over on shading. Make sure you double click to expand the menu if you haven't already. And then you'll be able to go down here to where it says material. You'll see for material, the base material is solid. And actually in this case, it has the checkbox use one material checked. So if we uncheck that, you can see that 3D texts do actually have the option of having a bevel material separate from the base material, but you can use both as one material. Now, to take these materials and turn it to where it's going to be receiving a image texture as an input, we simply click on the type where it says solid, and then drop that down to image. So when we do that, you'll see on the node, there's a new import for a color image 1. Now a really easy mistake to make here would be to simply drag a image of a texture into the node group here, and then to connect that to the top text node. But if you do that, it's typically going to cause all kinds of problems. You see the text isn't really displaying quite right. If I remove the image, you can see that from this image texture, part of the characters are getting cut away, and that's not what we want at all. So the correct way to import the image textures to use in this way is actually to use a loader node. So if we right click, we can go to add tool, in, out, and loader. So this allows you to load pretty much any image from your computer to use as a texture. So let's go ahead and grab this dark rusty metal from Wild Textures, and you can see it's a JPEG. JPEG's going to be more efficient than PNGs in terms of image space since they don't have an alpha channel. And now we can take this texture and link it up to the color image. So just make the connection there. And now if we scroll out, you'll see that because we're using a loader node, all of the characters are filled in properly with that image texture. Now let's go ahead and put the Merge 3D node on the left side so that we can see the text in 3D space. On the right here, we're looking at the final media out, which is the final result. But here we can see it in 3D space, holding Alt down and middle mouse button in order to churn it around. And you'll see here that the bevel is automatically assigned as the same texture, seems to be working decently, and the reason for that is we have use one material checked. But if you want to have separate materials for your bevel and your base material, you can uncheck use one material, and you'll see the bevel return to its previous color. So now we can go down to bevel material, change the type from solid to image, and you'll see one more texture input appear on this 3D text node. So we can add another loader node in, add tool, and then go to an out loader, grab an image texture, and then connect it to that green bevel texture input. So now what you'll see happen is that the bevel, basically the side of the text but not the front, is going to turn into whatever texture we just added in there. So doing it this way, you can actually have multiple materials on the same text thanks to the bevel material. So doing it this way, you're actually able to have two separate materials on the same text. Of course, if you prefer to make both the bevel material and the base material the same, then you can just check use one material again, which will assign whatever is assigned to the base to the bevel as well. At this point, if you'd like to adjust the colors of the text, you can do so. So the base color is going to be the general color without receiving any lighting on it. So if we change it to red, it's going to make everything across it receive that red color kind of multiplied by the underlying texture. So you can see, even though it's red, it's still got the texture underneath it. And then the specular color, for whenever a light hits the text, it will appear as a certain color. So if we go in here and make the specular color something like blue, this should have an impact on the color when the lights hit it. In this case, we might want to lower the specular exponent value so that that color actually shows through a little bit. For this title template with that base value of 50, it receives very, very little of the specular lighting. But as you drop it down towards 0, you can have more and more of that show through, basically setting it to your liking. So now at this point, of course, we can do the same with the bottom text. So I'm going to right click, add tool, go to in out and loader, not media in. Select a material that we want to use, and then click on the bottom text, go over to the shading tab, and change the material from solid to image. For this text node, we'll just use one material so that we can use the same image for both the base and the bevel material. And now we connect it in to this color image connector. So that's going to be the white one, not the orange one that's always there. So in this case, the dark textures tend to be pretty hard to read. If we go back over to the edit tab, you can see that they're not really displaying that clearly. So we may want to go with something a bit lighter. So I'm going to click on my loader node for the bottom text, and we'll go to browse and select something else like this crumpled paper text. So that seems to be working a lot better. So if you're running into problems with visibility, you can go over to the text tab in the inspector for that bottom text node and then adjust some of the settings here. So one option to make it a lot clearer would be to change the font. So I'll try changing it to something like Babus Noe here, and then we can increase the size a bit. And I think that's going to be considerably clearer to read. You can see that with this title template, parts of it are dark because there's a spotlight that's shining right in the middle. If you don't like the lighting effects, you can also go into Renderer and turn that off. So double click on the 3D Renderer node and then turn off lighting. And then it's just going to be showing without any lighting, just at the full color of the base material. And that can make it a lot easier to read as well. Another alternative would be to add extra lights to your node setup. So I can quickly show that as well. So I'll turn lighting back on. So where we have this merge 3D node, which is just combining all of the 3D effects into one before it gets rendered out, we have this spotlight coming out here. That's what's lighting up the center area. One thing we can do is just add an ambient light to the scene to light everything up equally, or a directional light would also work. So I'm going to right click, go to add tool. We will go to 3D light and ambient light. I'm going to connect that into the merge 3D, and you'll notice immediately everything brightens up a bit, basically lighting up everything in the scene all at once. So if we boost this to something like 0.4, it's going to be much more readable against that dark background than it was before. So you can see it still has the lighting effect. The top still has some of the blue of the specular light that we decided to add in. But overall, both parts of the title are much more readable, even though it has a texture added on top of it. So in a nutshell, that is how you add image textures to 3D text in title templates for Resolve 16 and to help make them look good and more readable. So that's going to be about it for this video. I've been Chris. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in my future video content.